President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
No! I refuse! I'm sick of it!
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing.
The moment Colin Jost and Joe cracked into the Saturday Night Live camera and fired their shots at Meghan Markle, you could feel the energy in the room shift. This wasn't harmless banter anymore. It was a televised verdict. Hollywood had decided it was open season on Meghan and Harry, and the couple's shiny image started to crumble right before everyone's eyes.
If you came up with the picture of an annoying, insufferable white woman, it would be Meghan Markle, even though she's not white.
Yeah, they were very worried about their safety, which I get that aspect of things after 6 episodes. I wanted to attack them.
But how did they go from royal rebels shaking up the monarchy to late-night TV's favorite punchline? It comes down to 3 key blows. First, the SNL roast that marked the exact moment the tide turned against them. Then came the avalanche of jokes from every corner of the entertainment world, piling on with no mercy. And finally, the most damaging cuts of all didn't come from comedians. They came straight from Meghan and Harry's own mouths in their awkward and painfully strange interviews that made people cringe instead of sympathize.
Meghan Markle has finally revealed why she and Prince Harry call each other M and H.
And he'll say M and you'll say H and your friends say M and it just is a thing.
It's a thing.
And do you both love it?
Yes, and I like nicknames a lot.
What could it be? A mystery for the ages.
And one particular moment stands out above the rest. A tense, bizarre exchange during Prince Harry's sit-down on The Colbert Show. It's the kind of clip you have to see to believe. But before we break that down, let's rewind to the roast that ripped their whole fairy tale narrative into pieces. It all kicked off on Saturday Night Live, when Weekend Update anchor Colin Jost decided to flip a simple story about international trade into a brutal dig at Meghan and Harry. He wasn't just poking fun, he was swinging a sledgehammer straight at their so-called brand, questioning out loud what the Sussexes are even worth anymore. The crowd erupted, and you could feel the sting in every laugh.
I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family! They're the original racists!
But here's the thing. Colin's punchline wasn't just about fading popularity. It was a direct shot at the foundation of their entire post-royal plan. Then, as if that wasn't cutting enough, he doubled down by dragging them into a comparison with a billionaire famous for bizarre decisions. And let's be real, it was savage. He basically reframed their fairy tale romance as a massive career blunder that no amount of PR spin could cover up. And this wasn't some out-of-nowhere swipe. SNL has been circling the couple for years, treating them less like global icons and more like easy punchlines.
President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
In fact, Jost's co-anchor Michael Che was dropping sharp jabs way back when Meghan and Harry first tied the knot, and his line back then was even more blunt than Jost's latest. That unemployed dude caricature became legendary because it shredded the royal fairy tale image Harry and Meghan had worked so hard to sell. It was ruthless, and SNL never let it go. So when word leaked that a Suits spin-off might be in the works, the writers didn't see Meghan's big comeback. They saw another golden chance to clown her husband. And the result? A takedown so sharp the audience howled, leaving no doubt the Sussexes were comedy's favorite punching bag. But SNL was just the opening act.
Earlier today, Suits actress Meghan Markle married some unemployed dude who still lives with his grandma.
Soon, every late-night host in Hollywood wanted their turn, and the couple's multi-million-dollar Netflix deal became the easiest target of them all. The punchlines practically wrote themselves, but it was Joe Coy at the Golden Globes who fired the biggest shot, mocking them in front of an entire room filled with Hollywood power players who actually have to earn their checks. The laughter was brutal, and the message was clear. They were seen as cashing in without showing up. And that idea stuck like glue. Suddenly, getting paid for nothing became the industry's favorite running gag about the Sussexes. Over on The Daily Show, Trevor Noah twisted the knife deeper, putting it in painfully personal terms by acting out exactly what Meghan herself must have been thinking, and it hit way too close to home.
It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
The joke stopped being about money fast, and that's when things got dangerous for Meghan and Harry. Suddenly, it wasn't just about their million-dollar paydays, it was about their entire story, their so-called victimhood. Once the cornerstone of their brand was now under attack, and comedians were tearing it apart with no mercy. Jimmy Kimmel led the charge, flat out mocking the hypocrisy of their grand escape from the UK, exposing just how ridiculous their carefully crafted narrative looked under the spotlight. And he didn't stop there. Kimmel zoomed in on one of the most explosive claims of all. The royal family suddenly worrying about genetics. It was a storyline once treated as deadly serious, now flipped into late-night comedy fodder for millions to laugh at. Watching their gravest accusations get ridiculed on primetime TV was a whole new level of humiliation.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing.
From there, the critiques snowballed. Every strange detail of their story became fair game, and the punches started landing closer and closer to home. But here's the thing, as sharp as these barbs were, they're nothing compared to the bizarre Colbert moment we're about to dive into. Trust me, it's coming.
This is what happens when you bring the first black woman into the royal family. She looked at Harry and she's like, you need to get a job.
But before we get there, Colbert and others turned their attention to the Sussexes' branding hustle. And even their sweet little nicknames got ripped into a brutal punchline. Meghan's shiny new Netflix cooking show was supposed to be her big moment, but instead, it backfired in the worst way. Reports spread that she wasn't actually cooking at all, just serving up pre-made meals dressed up to look gourmet. That style over substance narrative stuck instantly, and Jimmy Fallon wasted no time ripping into it, turning the whole show into a running joke about fakery and fluff. The audience loved it, but for Meghan, it was a brutal punch to her credibility. And this was where things really shifted, because it wasn't just the professional comedians taking aim anymore.
What could it be? A mystery for the ages!
The vibe had spread across Hollywood like wildfire. Suddenly, Meghan's presence wasn't being treated as glamorous or exciting, but as something closer to a low-key nuisance. Even James Corden, normally a cheerleader for his celebrity pals, couldn't hide his confusion. On air, he flat out asked for an explanation, as if he couldn't believe how off the whole thing felt. The excuse Meghan gave was laughably simple, and in the bizarre bubble of Hollywood, maybe even relatable. But to everyone else, it just sounded absurd.
Why does Meghan Markle make her own pretzel bags? They don't know why.
That's interesting. She takes it from one bag and puts it in another bag.
There's another bag.
And that confuses people.
Think about it. When other A-listers are going on national TV complaining that you're hogging their yoga class, you've officially lost control of your own story. What was once a polished royal narrative had spiraled into a circus of mockery, and Meghan was right in the center of it. But the playful jabs from late-night hosts were child's play compared to the savagery of stand-up comics with no filters. Ricky Gervais tore into the Sussexes by hammering their royal entitlement, the smug air of being above it all that had already rubbed the public the wrong way. And while Ricky leaned into the social commentary, John Mulaney didn't even bother dressing it up. He went straight for the jugular with a cold-blooded insult about Harry's intelligence and the disastrous life choices that landed him here. But the sharpest sting came from comedians who made the Sussexes their full-time obsession. Tim Dillon led that charge, dropping non-stop blows that didn't just paint Meghan as fake, but portrayed her as downright unbearable. His rants turned her from a duchess into comedy's favorite villain, and the crowd ate it up every single time.
Meghan Markle has ruined your workout regime. Is this true? If so, how?
Yes, she has.
For Tim Dillon, this wasn't just about Meghan's public persona. He went in on her mind itself. His rants painted her as someone lacking sharpness, and he pushed that idea so hard it became the centerpiece of his entire takedown. Then he twisted the knife by tying it directly to her business ventures, slamming her shiny new lifestyle brand as nothing more than a condescending vanity project. To him, it wasn't a company. It was Meghan looking down her nose at the rest of the world, pretending to sell relatability while cashing in on her royal status. But while Dillon's attacks were fueled by raw vitriol, comedy legend Chris Rock took a totally different approach, and his version cut even deeper. Rock's voice carries serious weight, especially on sensitive topics like race. So when he decided to wade into Meghan and Harry's narrative,
she went to a yoga place, which is my yoga place. But now that she went there, everyone's going to want to go there.
The audience leaned in. He started by nodding to their central claim about the royal family, and for a split second, it looked like he was on their side. And then Chris Rock flipped the script in the most brutal way imaginable. He yanked the rug right out from under Meghan's entire argument. Quoting her complaint about a family member asking how dark his skin might be when he's born, Rock shot back with a punchline that floored the audience. That's not racist. Even black people want to know how brown the baby gonna be. The crowd exploded, and just like that, Meghan's most serious claim was turned into a global joke. But the roasting didn't stop there. British comedian Simon Brodkin chimed in, nailing what so many viewers had felt but never said out loud. He admitted that hearing Meghan and Harry's Netflix documentary was the exact moment he turned on them for good.
Once at a gig, the back was Harry and William, Madonna and Paul McCartney. Not one of them paid.
What pushed him over the edge weren't the big dramatic claims, but the tiny, self-important details, like their overly polished, corporate-sounding nicknames that reeked of inauthenticity and drove people crazy. Simon Brodkin couldn't believe the way Meghan and Harry spun everyday royal traditions, like a simple curtsy, into traumatic experiences. To regular people, it came off less like suffering and more like being wildly out of touch. And if that wasn't bad enough, Harry's own book handed comedians even more ammo on a silver platter. His awkward, almost childish turns of phrase made him sound not just unrelatable, but downright silly, an easy punchline begging to be roasted. But for Brodkin, and plenty of others, the absolute breaking point came when the Sussexes complained about footing the bill for their own security. Watching multimillionaires whine about paying for protection shattered whatever scraps of sympathy the public still had left. That was it. The narrative collapsed under the weight of its own absurdity.
You dumb ginger. You leave your title because you don't like your 94-year-old grandma? That's the definition of something you wait out.
The verdict from the stand-up circuit was loud and unanimous, guilty on all counts. But here's the twist. The humiliation didn't stop there. Because once the comedians finished, the cartoonists swooped in for the kill. And then came the knockout blow, South Park. No show went harder than Trey Parker and Matt Stone's animated circus. And they didn't just roast Meghan and Harry, they dedicated an entire episode to tearing them apart. Titled The Worldwide Privacy Tour, it opened by mocking Harry's memoir before zeroing in on its glaring contradiction. How can a man who despises journalists suddenly decide to become one himself? The irony was devastating, and fans couldn't stop laughing. But Parker and Stone weren't finished.
If you came up with the picture of an annoying, insufferable white woman, it would be Meghan Markle, even though she's not white.
The cartoon interviewer turned the heat on Meghan, exposing her supposed obsession with the very spotlight she insists she hates. The satire painted her as hungry for fame while pretending to run from it, and the punch landed hard. Meanwhile, Harry was drawn as totally clueless, an oblivious husband rushing to defend his Instagram-obsessed wife without realizing the hypocrisy hanging over both of them. By this point, the Sussexes had been reduced to a punchline so simple it practically wrote itself. Getting paid for doing absolutely nothing. Cartoons like Family Guy even had them joking. Time for our daily $250,000 sponsored Instagram post for Del Taco. The dig was savage because it mocked not just their Netflix deal, but the entire cringeworthy world of influencer-style sponsored content that people imagined the couple living off of.
We are leaving! We'll go find some quiet place where we can be normal people! Come on, wife! We want privacy!
But here's the kicker. The cartoons weren't inventing this out of thin air. They were pulling straight from the couple's own material, and more often than not, the most damaging source was Prince Harry himself. During his sit-down with Stephen Colbert, there was one fascinating moment where Colbert slipped in what felt like on-air advice, wrapped neatly in the form of a simple movie quote. It was subtle, it was sharp, and it was clearly meant to land. But Harry, smiling casually and flexing his trivia knowledge, seemed to miss the entire weight of what Colbert was really saying. Colbert dropped a quote that should have landed like a lifeline, about ending the noise, ending the debate, and simply being a good man. But Harry didn't grab it. He brushed past it, answering with surface-level trivia, as if it were just another quiz question.
It's so quiet and empty here. If we moved here, then people would think we're really serious about wanting to be normal.
That disconnect set the stage perfectly for the real train wreck of the night, the painfully awkward moment I flagged at the very start. And here's the thing. This wasn't a scripted joke from a late-night host or a savage punchline from a comic. This was pure self-sabotage. A mask slipping live on camera, exposing Harry's own passive-aggressive streak. Watch closely and you'll see it. That sudden shift in his eyes, the sharp little jab at the interview itself, and the tightness in his face, like he's seconds from storming off set. It's not confidence, it's strain, and it shows in every twitch of his expression. That moment is the real story. Not the comedians, not the tabloids, not even the cartoon parodies. It's the contradictions playing out in real time. A man desperate to look relatable while seething at the very spotlight he keeps running toward. Strip everything else away.
He said, let us have an end to this debate about what makes a good man and be one.
There you go.
You can use that.
Good knowledge.
You can use that.
And this was never just about two royals walking away from a palace. It's a modern-day cautionary tale about authenticity, a brutal reminder that you cannot wage war on the media while chasing the very attention they create. Chasing the spotlight while pretending to run from it. You can't have it both ways. You cannot sell yourself as victims of hardship while living a life dripping with extreme privilege. Eventually, those contradictions grow too big to hide, and once the cracks show, the court of public opinion steps in. And in today's world, it's not robes and gavels delivering judgment. It's comedians, acting as the modern-day jesters who turn ridicule into the harshest verdict of all. Because that laughter you've been hearing in every clip isn't just about clever jokes. It's the sound of a story the public no longer buys. And that's the real sting. After all the strategic mistakes, the humiliating roasts, and the awkward self-inflicted moments, We're left staring at one unavoidable question. Can Meghan and Harry ever pull off a comeback? Or has their brand already been permanently cemented, not by speeches or books, but by punchlines? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think. And don't forget to hit like, tap subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss the breakdowns others are too scared to give. See you in the next one.